Hello. Good job, Gwyneth. So I got an extra slide at the beginning. So first I want to say thanks to Peter and Carrie and everybody, and that really cool guy whose name I forgot. I'm so sorry. Tavis. Great event, super fun. I'm Benjie, co-founder of Shipyard, ephemeral environments tooling. So on every code change, you get a full copy of your production environment, and we manage the life cycle of that. I'm going to talk about bare metal to containers to Kubernetes, and how we got here. So it all started with the Harvard Mark I, which I believe was punch card, designed in the 30s, kind of moved along quickly because of World War II. Here's in 1956 a 5 megabyte hard drive getting loaded onto a plane, and that's where we were in back then. In the 60s, kind of digital stuff started. Punch cards, not so much, a bit still. We got the 360, we got the big one, and then DEC and VAX, of course. And so this is when mainframes start happening. The internet begins. Sun, hacking the Gibson. Anybody? Yeah. Co-location of data centers. That was a Hackers, the movie, which is now 28 years old or something. At the same time, the rise of Linux, right? We've got Debian, Slackware, Red Hat, clap, yes. Open source, all that stuff. So you have a few things happening at once, the data center, the co-location, and then the other thing that happens is virtualization. So we've got VMware 1.0, 1999. I know FreeBSD, there's a lot of other stuff out there for for virtualization, but that's the big one. And what it does is it slices and dices one singular server into multiple different things with a shared OS, but different applications. I'm sorry, not a shared OS, you guys get it. That then was made even cooler by hardware virtualization, so you're physically cutting this stuff up and about, and so you get these hardware data centers, Linode, AWS, Google, and what you have is these places where kind of anyone can have their own cloud now. And 2000 to 2010, commodity hardware becomes the de facto standard. Deploying software during this time is typically, well, in the early days, it was just bare metal. You have your own rack, you have your own stack, you got your own person, maybe you outsource that. It was interesting. Then 2000s, this is where VMware and virtualization comes in. The cloud, you're able to get a virtual instance, and you're still kind of doing that whole thing where you're installing and owning the operating system and the application. And this is cool, but it's a little slow. Enter Google and creepy name Borg, which is basically how do you take all this commodity hardware that dies all the time, make it as horizontal as possible. They added C groups to make this possible into the main line, and that was really cool. That kind of got picked up by the rest of us plebs. DocCloud 2008 and Docker 2013. The container revolution makes things a lot more portable, a lot faster, a lot more insecure. But that's besides the point. And so now this is kind of what it looks like in the 2010s, 2020s. You've got your bare metal that now have VMs on it, that now have containers inside those VMs. Okay, well, those things break all the time. How do we turn them off and on? So then the scheduling wars began, or the orchestration wars. That's supposed to say Helios, not Mesos for Spotify. I forgot to fix that again. Kubernetes, Docker Swarm, Mesos. I think we know who won, Kubernetes, for the most part. Nomad's still cool. Check it out. But what goes on here is that Kubernetes is basically a big for loop that tries to make a YAML file true. And it knows, and that's what it is. And so that is a way that we can leverage all these things where we are today, bare metal virtualization containers, and then this for loop that makes sure that these things restart, affinity, all that good stuff. Which then created this really cool thing that's also a monster, and that's the CNCF community. There are way too many ways to do way too many things and way too many foot guns, but it's still really cool. It's a wonderful community. I'm a pretty large part of it, so I'm proud. Underneath the application, it does look a little bit like this, so there's probably some work to be done still on simplifying it. But it's pretty cool. This is kind of what a version of everybody's infrastructure looks like. Thanks for listening. I'm Benjie. I believe that I have two of these slides because I forgot a slide. But that's how we got from bare metal to containers. to Kubernetes. And if anyone wants to talk about that, come find me. Oh, also, I have a Kubernetes podcast called Kubeless that I forgot to put on the slide. Check it out. I'm going to do this. Okay, there we go.